Well, welcome to Medical Sells You, the podcast. I'm your host, Dave Starrett, and today we have Dave Hazard. So we could call this the Dave and Dave podcast. But Dave Hazard, you are the Vice President of Sales at Nuo Therapeutics. The product you have is the Arthrex PRP platform. We'll talk about that more. But Dave, great to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, you know, on this podcast, it's always great when we have someone local. We're here in Columbus, Ohio, and you know, it's kind of weird because our paths have crossed a number of times. And you know, I mentor students who want to break in, but there's people who want to, you know, maybe they feel stuck and they want to advance their career. You've been promoted multiple times. You've been one of the top sales reps. But I think you have a lot of content. So just tell us a little bit about who you are. Who is Dave Hazard? You know, we'll go big picture here, and then we'll go right into your product as well.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Well, you know, I guess I can tell you a little bit about my history in medical sales.
Yeah.
So I started out with a finance degree from Ohio State, going into group insurance sales, which is a funny way to get into medical sales, right?
Yeah.
And what I learned is I really liked selling, but I thought insurance was really boring. And so I wasn't happy, didn't enjoy the job. And so I literally quit my job, moved back to Columbus because I had moved around with that job. And while I was working that other job, I had several friends that were residents, and they were going through the surgery pathway to be a doctor.
Wow.
And I started hanging out with them a lot, and their reps would tag along with them. And I started figuring out, okay, that's a sales role.
That's a sales role.
Seems more interesting. And so when I got back, I met with a family friend who had been in the industry for a long time, and he said, I'm going to make an introduction to some people, and it's on you at that point to go, you know, get the job. And so I interviewed with an Arthrex agency, the DePuy agency owner, and then the Zimmer Biomet agency owner. And this is back when these were all distributors, right?
Yes.
Before they went direct. And I remember, so I went into the Arthrex one, and the guy said, I don't have any openings, but I'll talk to you with any questions you have. And we talked for an hour, and it was a great conversation. And then I went to the DePuy MyTech interview, and she said, hey, you know, you have the sales background we're looking for. Let's get you into the OR and see how you do. And so we'll set up a second interview.
Okay.
And then I went to the Zimmer interview, and they said, you have no OR experience. Come back when you do. And so I was planning on going to that second interview with J&J. And then the Arthrex distributor owner called me back and said, I have an opening right now. There's 20 people waiting behind you. Do you want it? Oh, and by the way, it's a third of what you were making at the other job, and you won't have a chance to make more for a year. And but I felt like it was the way in, and I should try to do that. So that's how I got into the medical industry. Is I took a pay cut, I took a chance, and that's how I ended up in the space.
Wow, that's amazing. How many years would that would have been? How many years ago?
Gosh, that was 2009.
2009.
Yeah. So.
Wow. So at this point, you're probably like about 28 years old. We were just talking about,
right.
You know. So how long were you there at Arthrex?
So I was at that local agency for 5 years initially. And I was, you know, Arthrex was in a rapid growth mode at that level, but I had been in sales. I had some sales experience. And I think, you know, if you have some maturity in sales, medical sales is maybe easier. And was able to engage with the doctors on a more professional level. I was able to engage with them and service them and be consistent, all the things that are important. But I was there 5 years, and because they were rapidly growing, they were rapidly hiring, and they were cutting away territory from the more experienced reps. So after being there for 5 years, it became evident that if I wanted to get stuck as a local rep somewhere, then I should stay. And if I want to do something else, I should leave. And at the time, Stryker was hiring.
Okay.
And this is kind of one of those things that I always give people advice on is your competitors are people you should have very good relationships with.
I like that advice.
Yeah, and you can be a really good competitor and go beat them up in the field, but they're people and you should love them and treat them as you want to be treated.
You never know when you'll join their team.
100%. And so the Stryker Capital guy who funny enough is now at Arthrex, he and I had become friends after sitting at Ohio State for 5 years and waiting for cases to flip and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's the one that got me in at Stryker, got me the interview, and then I had to go get the job. But I was there for that was Stryker Interventional Spine, so I got an intro into the spine world, and had planned on sticking with Stryker for a long time. Really liked the leadership; they got the leadership thing down.
What stands out about the leadership with Stryker?
They spend a lot of time developing their leaders.
Okay.
They have all these different programs they put their leaders through. You know, they're big into the Gallup stuff and everything else. So one, they hire leaders really well because they use this Gallup poll to do it. So what they do is they interview all their best leaders, and they use those characteristics to then hire their new people.
I'm going to stop you right there because our students who are trying to break in, they've interviewed with Stryker across the board, all the companies. But Stryker does love that Gallup interview. Any tips for those who are trying to break in?
Yeah, I mean,
to knock it out of the park.
That's a challenging one. So the Gallup is going to be different for every division of Stryker.
Yes,
because they use the best salespeople and leaders in that division to develop the Gallup for that division. So you may fail one division and pass another division. So don't be scared to go after other divisions of Stryker if you fail one. But my advice is this. So just to kind of lay out what the setup looks like for the Gallup, you get on the phone with a live person.
Yes.
And they just rapid fire ask you questions. There's no response from the person at all. So it's not a conversational back and forth where you have time to think about your answer and strategize. It's a rapid fire. You have to answer. So the way to prepare for
I've done it a couple of times. Yeah.
I mean, the way to prepare for it, in my opinion, is to sit down and write out some questions that you think, and just generic interview questions. Hey, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? What's the last thing you do before you go to bed?
Yes.
List the time that you solved a problem successfully. List the time you solved a problem and it wasn't successful. Things like that. Just list a bunch of stuff and practice how you would answer that.
I love that.
And you'll do really well. And that was exactly how my experience was. They just asked a bunch of questions in rapid succession, and I answered them quick, and I answered them, probably not the way I would answer if I had a lot of time to think through it, but in a way that was successful. And
I love that. And what I tell my students is be clear, be concise, and be confident.
Yep.
You even use AI. Spit out those sample questions, practice them, just like you said. Yep. Be clear, be confident, be concise, and that's awesome. So you're at Stryker now. You're in interventional spine.
Yep. And that was it was an interesting product line. Got to work with a bunch of spine surgeons, and I planned on making a career there. Again, really liked the Stryker model, liked the leadership team. I mean, it's Stryker, right? You tell people you work at Stryker. That's really cool. But on the day of the end of my non-compete at the Arthrex agency level, I got a call from the guy that ran Ohio for Smith & Nephew. And I had known this gentleman very well because he had been the previous VP at the Arthrex agency. So I knew this guy really well. And he said, hey, I've been waiting for your non-compete to get up. I want you to come work for me back in sports medicine, back in your old accounts.
Really? Okay.
And he offered me a pay bump to do it. And I said, okay, let's go. And because I had missed the sports med, it was something that, that was my initial passion. I'd grown up doing that for the previous 5 years. And so I took the role and went back into those accounts and did quite a bit of damage very quickly for Smith & Nephew. And, again, your relationships with your doctors are your currency, as a sales rep. And so if you have, and I had maintained those relationships even though I wasn't in the space anymore. And because of that, those providers were very quick to come back and work with me. And so very quickly flipped all that business to the point where I was listed on a top 10 board nationally in a 3-4 month period. And 5 months in, I must have been doing enough damage that the local Arthrex agency came back to me.
He came back to you.
Yep.
Man, you're crushing it.
And said, well, hey, we'd love to have you back, and we'll double what you're making, and we'll give you a 2-year guarantee, and we'll make you a manager. And so,
that's amazing.
And I don't always recommend jumping around. I don't know that that's always the best strategy. It happened.
Well, they're doubling what you're making.
Well, it happened to work well for me, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, in that scenario, I did go back Smith & Nephew to give them a chance because I didn't want to leave them after only 5 months because I don't love the look that gave. And they tried, but they couldn't get close.
Yeah.
And so we did leave on good terms because it was sort of like you have to take that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and worked back at the Arthrex agency. And again, I had maintained all those relationships as well, even though those people had been my direct competitor for the last 5 months. Mm-hmm. And ran sports and bio for a year. Both lines had grown so much by the end of the year, or were on a large growth curve, that they asked me, which one do you want to run? And I was looking at sports medicine, and I was seeing all these competitors get in, ConMed, Anika, all these other companies. And I had a feeling that would be a commoditized space sometime in the near future. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the biologics, and Arthrex was pouring a bunch of money and time into biologics at that point. And I said, that's interesting. That's something I don't think everybody's going to know. I can make my own little niche there. And I actually enjoyed it. So I decided to do that road, and was the bio manager for 2.5 years after that at the agency. And at that point, was growing it substantially, catching the attention of the corporate guys. And Arthrex Corporate reached out and asked me to interview for an RM job. And there were 3 total RMs for biologics running the nation.
Okay.
And they had about 3,200 reps at the
time.
So
as an RM, you're managing how many people? What do you tell us a little bit about that role?
Yeah, so it was a biologics regional manager position. So it was a product position.
Okay.
And I had 28 specific bio managers underneath me in that division.
Okay.
But they weren't my employees. They were employees of the distributor.
Okay.
So I was a manager to in a sense I'm managing them, but they're not my people.
They're not
but there were, again, about 1,000 reps also in that region that I was also working with. So I would work directly with the bio managers, but 1,000 reps or so that would just call me up randomly and ask a bio question if their person couldn't answer it, or they were out on vacation or whatever it was. So for about 3.5 years, I did that and learned. I launched 28 products.
28 products.
Yeah,
wow.
They were rapidly growing. We launched several blood-based systems. Really launched some PRP systems in the area that hadn't been launched. Cartilage, grafting, bone grafting. All kinds
so when
of
you're,
stuff.
but I look at you at LinkedIn, and it's funny how our paths have crossed. I was, 5 years ago, I was in a long-distance relationship, moved here to get married, and I was trying to get to Columbus, and I'm like sitting beside someone on a plane. I'm like, I'm moving to Columbus. I'm going to go get a job in medical sales. She's like, well, you ought to talk to my brother. And it was your sister on the plane. And then we ran into each other at the 4th of July, mutual friends.
Yep.
I think your wife and my wife went to the same Christian elementary school together. And so this is interesting. So I have a question. So you're LinkedIn. I've seen you, and this is the first time we actually ran into each other yesterday.
Yeah.
And met in person at Cohatch. But 5-time quota achiever, 4-time $1 million club honoree. All these awards you have. Where was this? Was this Arthrex? What was the 4-time $1 million club honoree?
Yeah, so that's only my time as a field rep.
Okay.
That I won those awards. Once I moved into management, we hit quota every year.
Oh, wow.
There were no awards at the Arthrex distributor level for that stuff.
Yes.
So I achieved quota 10 of the 11 years I was at Arthrex, even in the RM roles, but COVID was the only year we didn't hit. And only because I don't think anybody
nation.
did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, won those awards when I was in the field. And then, I was able to accomplish quota as well outside of that.
That's awesome. Tell us about what you're currently doing.
Yeah. So without getting too much into how it happened, this company previously for 20 years had worked on developing the Aurix product. They got it through the FDA in 2007. They worked on it's called the CED process with Medicare, level 1 RCT, all-comers study, no exclusions. And in 2019, they submitted that to Arthrex, and they went bankrupt, ran out of money.
Really?
So they never commercialized the product. They got through the development phase, a bunch of scientists running the company. But in 2021, they get a letter in the mail from CMS that says, hey, you now have a national coverage determination. And if you know what that is, that's a big deal. Like that's saying you literally have the highest license to hunt. And so they brought that to Arthrex and said, do you want this? And Arthrex said, we're not a wound care company. We're not interested in getting into wound care. which is funny because now they are.
Yes.
And I happened to hear about it through the grapevine, and I reached out to the guy and said, "Hey, what if we built a sales force?" And he ultimately said, "Yeah, I don't think we can sell it for what we want out of it, so let's try to build a sales force." So long story short, several people decided to come along and do the same thing,
Yes.
and we all started it in May of 2022, and what I learned in that process is I knew nothing about startups. And so we launched it and, realized we had to go get a sales force. And we determined ultimately to do the 1099 sales force because we didn't have enough money to go out and hire W-2s. And we also wanted to learn the space a little bit before we committed to multi-million-dollar sales force. So went out and hired a few distributors initially. Then we realized, hey, they're going to need marketing materials to go out and throw on doctors' desks. And so we had to create all the marketing materials, and then realized that they were going to need order forms because they have to place orders, and we had to make those, and then on and on and on. And so we really developed the whole entire process of the sale, right, from the beginning of the marketing all the way up into the order coming in to how it's going to ship out, what boxes is it going to be in. I mean, so we again, I had no idea I was going to be doing all that, and it was out of necessity that I ultimately had to figure all that out. And I'm super glad I did. Learned a lot doing that, and it's been really enjoyable. But it is absolutely our baby. So one of the guys that came from Arthrex with me, his name's Rob Harrison. He was running all the PRP stuff there. He's I think he holds 22 or 23 patents at Arthrex. So he's a smart guy. He runs operations, VP of operations. So he and I together really run the company. And we've got a CEO who does an awesome job keeping us publicly, traded and in the public space. And then we've got a chief science officer that does a great job keeping us up to date on regulatory and reimbursement stuff. But again, so we went from, having, one distributor in July of 22 to we're up to over 250 1099 distributor reps now.
Wow, 250.
And
where are you? Are you all across the country?
We're national, coast to coast. And we could certainly have a lot more. We've been reached out to now because we have technology that fills some holes. Yes. But we've been very picky on scaling at the rate we want to scale at. So it went from May of 22 to having some reimbursement, but not all the reimbursement. We didn't have an office payment. We didn't have RVUs. We didn't have some of these other things. To spring of 23, we developed a sports PRP system. So we got into that space, which was kind of fun, and gave our reps something else to sell while the reimbursement was catching up. And then we got really full reimbursement of January this last year, and it's been off to the races. We've been seeing explosive growth. We're pretty excited. A lot of our reps are finally getting into these accounts that have taken a long time. And we got to a point where the technology was compelling enough out in the market through the work we had done to get exposure on it that we started having a bunch of business development conversations. And meanwhile, before that happened, every 3 months we're running out of money, right? Because we're not making enough sales yet to be profitable because the reimbursement hasn't caught up and everything else. And so I'm having to go to investor groups and
what's that like?
I mean, I was totally unqualified to do that, but I just told them what we were working on and what we were doing very honestly, and they were excited about it. And so
very cool.
We were able to really stay alive up until the point now where we're very close to profitability. And I can't say too much because we're publicly traded.
Yes.
But we have what I would consider, a successful product now out in the market. And
I love that.
The business development conversation started about 1.5 years ago. A lot of companies were interested in the technology. The wound care space is very interesting, right? So right now, the majority of the wound care space is the CTPs or skin subs, the amnion grafts. And that was a $200 million market in 2019. And today it's a $12 billion market.
Wow.
It
Why did it grow so fast?
Well, there was a loophole in Medicare's reimbursement that allowed these grafts to set their own price. And so it went from $150 to $200 a square centimeter up to $4,000 a square centimeter over that 4 to 5 year period. Problem was the healing rates didn't change. So Medicare went from spending $200 million, and that they are doing double the number of patients now,
Okay.
but $200 million to $12 billion. And the healing rate's still, the data shows about 39% of patients don't heal with a graft. So where we come in there is our healing rates are about 37% higher than everything on the market.
Okay.
And that's what we proved out in our level 1 RCT. And so our stuff heals everybody all the time.
That's amazing.
And certainly there are some caveats to that, but we heal.
Can you tell us
really
a little
well.
bit about the technology of
Yeah,
why
of
does it
course.
so much better?
Man,
Yeah.
we're getting into my
Yeah.
excitement area here. So we draw some of the patient's blood.
Okay.
We spin it in a centrifuge for 52 seconds. We have the fastest PRP on the market. And we draw off that plasma fraction, and then we add in some pharmaceutical reagents that are in our kit. So we have vitamin C, we have calcium chloride, and we have thrombin. And the way the mechanism works is, PRP has a lot of growth factors in it that promote angiogenesis, which is vessel formation, and epithelialization, which is skin growth, and several other things. So all the things that your body is trying to get to a wound that it can't because of bad perfusion, chronic inflammation, all these other things. And then we concentrate it and we put it on that wound. But the other thing, that vitamin C, every chronic wound is deficient vitamin C. And in some examples, like end-stage scurvy deficient. Remember scurvy on the pirate ships where you don't eat enough fruit? Yeah. And vitamin C is absolutely necessary for collagen cross-linking into that tight triple helix of type 1 native collagen. So when it's present, you get rapid collagen formation. When it's not present, you have loose windings, you have wounds that reopen, you have scar tissue. And these wounds either are completely deficient in vitamin C, or even if you give somebody a high dose orally or intravenously, it depletes the vitamin C in 12 hours when there's chronic inflammation.
Yeah.
So we're giving them the stuff their body's trying to get there, the growth factors, and then we're giving them the vitamin C so their body can create collagen. And generally what we see is a 50% size reduction in these wounds in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And these are wounds that have been around for 2, 3, 4 years with
fast.
no advancement on any other therapies. And we do it for a small percentage of the cost of skin subs. So anyway, that's the technology.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's really neat.
So let me ask you this. So there are people who come to me who have no experience. They want to break in. Other people, they feel stuck where they are. And so the idea behind this Medical Sells You is just like, let me have the best leaders come in. We're going to give away as much content. And then for those who want to, we have a course, Monday, Wednesday nights, a Zoom call. We charge them like a college course, and we hold them accountable, and it's rigorous, and it's more in-depth. Tell us a little bit about what makes a good 1099 rep and a good 1099 company as well. Yeah. Because our students who have no experience sometimes get these offers of 1099, and they turn out to be a scam, way too hard, too much hustle. But there's others who do really well, right? Tell us a little bit about those dynamics and what you all are looking for. Is it more seasoned reps who have those relationships? Is there ever an opportunity where someone doesn't have those relationships with physicians, but you guys would take a chance at them and say, you know what, this person has what it takes? Like, walk us through that. I think all that would help us a little bit.
So you hit several things there.
Yeah,
so I'll try to hit them all. So, what we look for in a 1099 rep is obviously I'm going to want experienced people as much as I can get them.
Yes.
Somebody who has a relationship with the wound care doctors that they can walk this into an account and get it used right away. But what I also find is sometimes those seasoned reps have their favorite products and they're not going to give your product any time, or they're making too much money on the other product and my product isn't going to get a place in the bag. So we have, I would say, 10, 15% of our sales force are people who either have never done this before or want to get into wound care and they're willing to try our product. And what I find is those people are really hungry usually, and they'll go to all the offices and drop off our brochures, and I can help them get to the point where they can talk about the product. It's really, are you going to do the work to get me in the door? And you'll hear my pitch 3 or 4 times, and then you have to be able to parrot it, right?
Yes.
And so really for me, what we look for is 1099s that are going to actually do the job and carry the product. So as far as, advice that I can give to 1099s on getting into the space, you do have to be careful. There's a lot of companies out there that are, going to try to use you and abuse you and not pay you.
Right.
And so, as far as how to find what are good products, I think courses like yours are probably going to be where you get some of that, intelligence.
Yes.
But you want to see, what is the product? Is it something that you foresee people using, right? Is this something, and you may not know that, and that's where you have to ask some questions.
You always have to believe in the product,
100%. Yep.
And I always say, like, if you're new, you never want to be one of the first ones. You want to talk to other seasoned, successful 1099s in other territories, right, as well, who are doing.
Yep.
So tell us about some of your best reps out there who are doing well.
So, man, I have a great guy in Columbus.
Really?
Old Ohio State football player. He's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah. And
what's his name?
Joe Bradley.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe Bradley and Mikey Brinkus. Mikey works with Joe. And,
and played football for the Buckeyes, huh?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He's a superstar. And so he's already got some of those qualities of a hardworking, tenacious, consistent guy. But he was actually the first guy I hired.
Really?
And he was somebody I knew.
How did you know him?
I went to high school with him.
Okay.
So I knew him, but it wasn't the reason I gave him the job. In fact, sometimes that might be the reason I wouldn't have given him the job.
Sure.
But he was nipping at my heels when I was at Arthrex in the biologics stuff and selling PRP and HA, and more than nipping at my heels, he was causing problems for us. And so I knew he was capable. And when we started talking around me starting this company, and he bumped into me at a coffee shop right after I got into this, and kind of pitched him on what I was doing, and he was like, I want in. That sounds really neat.
I love that.
And so what has made Joe a really good 1099 isn't the things you think of, right? It's not that he's just this polished, awesome salesman. He's a very good salesman, but he's not this polished, awesome salesman. What he is extremely consistent and extremely persistent. So he'll chase these hospital people down that that just don't want to return phone calls, like the supply chain people and the VAC people, and he'll do it in a way that is somehow not annoying to them, and just consistently follow up. So his follow up of anybody I've ever worked with at any of the companies is probably the best I've ever seen.
Yes,
and because of that, he's had access to really every health system in Ohio. And so he's gotten us through the back of tons
Ohio
of
Health
and
all.
I can't say who, but
no,
sorry
about
it's all right.
that.
That's all good. But he's been great. And then he hired a guy, so he's paying a W-2 to carry our product now, which I think is awesome. And that guy came out of I'm trying to remember. I don't want to say it wrong. I think he was doing mortgage sales or something. I'm probably butchering it, but he equally Joe has taught him some of the things that he does to kind of move things forward well. But this guy naturally had also the drive. And that's something I think you have to have as a 1099 to be successful. Is you have to show somebody that, hey, if you give me a chance, I'm going to deliver on it. And that first year, you got to be grinding. And and that's what Mikey has.
What does that look like for the first year? Like managing your schedule for these, because we have reps who are and people who are curious, like, what does success look like in this job? Do I even want to do this? Do I have what it takes?
Yeah.
Like, what does it look like? What would a week look like for one of those reps who's really pre-call planning? They're organized. They're showing up. They're following up well.
Yep.
I mean, what does that look like for them?
Yeah. I mean, so it's gonna depend on the industry, right? I can tell you what it looked like from the surgical side, and then from what we do now side. So on the surgical side, it was there was a lot of planning that had to be in place because you're running trays around, and you're running instruments around. So you're really everything you do, that morning is going to affect what happens 2-3 days down the road. So that the planning had to be really, really tight. And usually your manager is going to tell you what to do when you're starting out. Yeah. But I tell people it's a gray collar job. It's not quite white collar because you're running heavy trays around. You're standing in the OR. You're getting yelled at. All the stuff. And but that's fun and it's enjoyable once you get into it and you become a necessary part of the surgical team. But what it looks like is you're at early mornings. You got to be willing to get up and drive a tray 2 hours away when the boss man doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Hey, I'll do it every time, boss. I work a lot of late hours, and I think a lot of the good reps work a lot of late hours. When you get home, you're still answering emails, you're still doing the work. And then when I was starting out, and I think a lot of the really good reps that I saw that started out, they would spend an hour or two a day watching surgery videos or watching videos or reading papers or studying. And it really is it's not like some jobs where you just show up and do your hours and leave. This is it's kind of like going to college.
Yeah.
So if you didn't come out of a healthcare background, like you have to learn it.
Exactly.
And So you have to learn anatomy, you have to learn the surgical procedures, you have to learn the products, you have to learn the lingo, and on and on. So I really think that first year determines how successful people are, because they should be studying, an average of 5 to 10 hours a week.
Love that.
They should be waking up before everybody else. And
I'd say that's true with pharma too. Like
Yeah,
I'm in
100%, yeah.
oncology. I'm specialty sales in oncology. We're not watching as many videos, although we're watching some to understand, doctors' perspectives, the mechanism of action, and reading those clinical trials and understanding the literature. But this is so true. And even starting out with, you talk about running trays. We have students breaking in that associate role
Yep.
as well, and it's a grind
It
because
is.
they're learning so much.
Yep.
And they're driving. I say, listen to podcasts when you're on the road if you have to drive some. But I love this. This is great.
Yeah, and it's easy to get discouraged that first year because you're like, I'm just a mule running trays around. But what you're doing is you're learning how the hospital works. You're learning how organized you have to be. You're learning how to talk to doctors. And that first year or two is going to be that way in any industry you get into. So, accept it, do it well, do it to the best of your ability, and it will pay off. And so that's, back to this fellow we work with in Columbus, Mikey. He's been that. I mean, he'll go in one direction in Ohio and hit up every wound care center and office in that direction, and then come back a different direction, hit them all on the way back. And he's phenomenal. I've been super happy with him, and I wish I could replicate that guy 100 times. So
that's great. We have some other people who listen to this podcast who have, they've been in the industry 15, 20 years. They've won, they've been successful. They've made $1 million a year. They've been promoted multiple times. And now they see they come across something similar to like you, an interesting opportunity, and they get to be part of a startup. For those people out there are a lot of startups that fail, but there's the opportunity and the risk to become very wealthy as well. But there's certain things to consider. What, for that person out there, the cautions, the questions when they're evaluating maybe your product, the team, the people that you're going to partner with, what are those questions that they should be asking before they launch a new product as far as a startup?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's a very loaded question. That's going to be different in every opportunity. Right. But I can tell you what I learned and what I wish I had done the same or differently. So if you get a chance to do a startup, and you're somebody who thinks you would enjoy that, I definitely recommend taking the opportunity, taking a chance at it. The questions I wish I had asked was, one, where are we at in the commercialization process, right? Because what we learned was we thought we had a commercial product that was ready to go, and there was really more work that had to be done behind the scenes.
Yes.
The other thing I would recommend asking is, what kind of funding do you have in place? Because like I said prior, if you want to be on phone calls every month, trying to raise money, then it doesn't matter what funding you have. But if you don't, you want to actually work towards getting the product out there and built. Having funding is helpful.
Yes.
And then the biggest things you got to think through as somebody who's making that decision is, what is it you're looking for in a career? Because you are going to work a lot of hours that first 2-3 years, a lot of hours, man. I was 80 to 100 hours a week the first 2 years.
Wow.
It's starting to slow down a little bit now that I have a mature sales force. But, one, so you got that problem. Two, you have to ask, what does the equity look like? How is that going to work on the back end? Are there other ways that you can make money? Is there a finder's fee on a sale? Is there, and if there is, go out and find somebody to buy the product, right?
Yes.
So you kind of have to look at the financials of it and say, is this going to be worth my 80 hours a week or 100 hours a week, and really my whole life for a couple of years. And when I was making this decision, I knew it was going to be that part. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. What I didn't know were some of the intangibles on, like, where were we on the commercialization? How much money did we have? And I had a very, frank conversation with my wife. I said, should I do this or should I not do this? And she works too. She's a VP of HR of all recruiting at Abercrombie. So she's also doing well. And we had this discussion of, well, hey, if this hits, it could be the home run thing, and it would be great for my career and it would be enjoyable. And but it is a risk.
Right.
It could go out of business tomorrow and I could lose my job. And certainly there's been a few times we got close to going out of business and it was scary. But because we had her income and we made that decision together that, hey, I'm going to take a shot at this and go for it. And And, she was in it with me because there were, I was traveling a lot the first 2 years. And so she was at home watching the kids and all that. So she's been a great supporter through this. And if it works, it will be because, she made that decision with me.
It's great. You two sound like a great team. That we'll take that to go right into your personal. These are fun rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Tell us about your family. Tell us.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm at the other end of the spectrum of most of my friends, and that's I've had kids late in life. So
I'm the same way.
We've got a 5-year-old. I got a 3.5-year-old. So Grace is my 5-year-old. Jake is my 3.5-year-old, and then we've got a 4-month-old Ellie. Yeah. And so we're, I'm in the weeds right now.
Man, I'm with you there because I got married 4 years ago. Coming up on 4 years. So I become a stepdad. Sydney was 8 at the time. She's 12, and we have a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, another on the way. So,
so you're,
2 here.
You're exactly where I am.
Yeah.
You're behind where I am.
Man, I know it.
No, it's super fun. Hey, being an old parent is.
Hey, we're athletic. That's right. We got it.
Yeah, I mean, being an old parent's great in some ways, right? You don't have the financial challenges of my friends and their kids 20 years ago, but I'm watching them all be empty nesters, and I'm like, oh man, there's something to that too. So I got young kids at home, so we're juggling that together. Me and Carly. Carly and I have been married 10 years now, and I've also got to watch her career, go through this trajectory of moving up, and I don't think she ever thought she'd be an HR VP, and here she is. So it'll be funny to see kind of over the next few years where those two careers go, because at some point, we've talked about having a parent be around with the kids. And so one of us will end up staying home. Maybe me if I sell the company, maybe her if she wants to. So, but that's the home life. And it's, we have a support network here. We have a great nanny. All the parents are local, so they all help out.
Oh,
so it's really neat.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite vacation spot?
Oh man. That's a loaded question too. So with the family, we do Sedona every year and a half with her dad has a place out there. So we love Sedona. We hike and the kids run around
out there. I love it.
Awesome.
So beautiful.
That or just the beach with the kids because the kids love the beach.
What beach do you like to go to?
The one recently that we did, so we did Hilton Head this year. We did that 30A area 2 years ago, and it's toss up. Those are both really fun. Hilton Head's a little easier to get to, so that might be my favorite because traveling with kids is not fun. But and then if I'm with like the guys, Yosemite, I love going out and hiking and all that stuff. And we've done that a few times, and it's been a blast.
That's great. I've never been. That's going to be on my list for one I need to go to. All right, let's talk about your discipline, man. Let's talk about your habits that you don't skip. What is it that makes you successful, Dave? What are some of your habits that you implement in your life?
Yeah, so habits and or characteristics, I would say those are maybe different. I had habits before I had kids, where I could do things every day.
Sure.
And that has changed with, not sleeping and traveling for work and all that stuff. So, I used to go to the gym, almost every day for 20 years, and that's just gone. And that, I saw a funny quote that said, if you got big arms, you can't wrap them around your kids, right? Jokingly, because I think it's good to go to the gym. But for me, it's more the characteristics of engaging with people on a human level, treating people how you want to be treated, whether they're the lowest 1099 you work with or the CEO of a company. I treat them the same. And I think that comes through understanding that, hey, I was there at one point. And it's weird how many people don't follow that because I think that's a true measure of success is, can you work with a 1099 that doesn't know anything the same way, that you were worked with once. So that's one of the things I really am consistently careful of and try to do well every time I have a conversation. And then I think also, for me, one of the biggest things I want to spend time with the people that I'm doing this job for, right? So I want to get some kid time every day and some wife time every day. And those are, you're not going to find those always in leadership books, but I think that's key because it's like if you know what you're doing it for, then it's really fun to do it.
Yes.
So those are the two things that I consistently do. As far as things that I do irregularly, obviously I read as much as I can. I have a group of guys that I spend time with consistently. We do a cigar night once a week, and it's I make it about twice a month. But these guys are half of them are in the medical industry, half of them are Christian dudes. It's just a mix of random people. And man, it is.
You solve the world's problems.
It's soul refreshing. I don't know how else to say it, but like I don't play golf. I don't do other things that take me away from the family. But I get my one night to go hang out with the guys, and it's they're all like-minded gentlemen too. They're family oriented, job oriented, and it is. It has been a great influence in my life. So I have that, and I think between that and church, you have.
Yeah. Where do you go to church?
We go to Rock City.
Oh yeah, that's great. Great church, Chad Fisher.
Yeah,
we went there for a while.
Yep.
We went there for a little while. We're at a smaller church now.
Awesome. That is the one challenge. It is a large church. So
well, with our littles, it's just a season, but it's a great church.
Yeah.
So, which one do you go to? Which location?
The Hilliard one.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, you've given us a lot of great insights, and I'm going to ask one last question,
Sure.
and we'll be done. What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self? So.
Well, the first thing I would tell myself to do is throw all of my money in the stock market because, I think I wish I had invested more. And I think everybody would say that, right, is tell your younger self to invest. And so I think anybody listening to this that's under the age of 30, invest as much as you can either in real estate or in the stock market.
I love it.
But I think really the thing that I've learned, now I'm 44, is I would go back and I'd tell myself to be patient, right? So, you wanted to be real high up at a company. You wanted to be in a big job as a young person. You wanted to be married. You wanted to do all these things. And, the process is where you learn everything, and you have to go through the process, as with anything in life. And so I wish I'd been more patient, just enjoyed the process and enjoyed learning. And ultimately, I've understood that now, but I wish I knew that earlier. So.
I love that. Dave Hazard, been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining the Medical Sells You podcast.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.